Thank you for attending this Media Door Stop. This morning, as we've announced, we're going to be launching our campaign slogan and our campaign message. This campaign slogan, as you probably have, Min has sent to you. If you haven't received a copy yet, please ask her for one. The campaign slogan is Thrive, not Survive, not just survive. And this is something which has been in the works for months already. We've just been shaping it up, and that's come from the message that we want to put out. And it all crystallizes into these four words: thrive, not just survive. As you probably have guessed by now, the whole idea behind this slogan is because Singaporeans have repeatedly told us that they are just surviving right now, right? Whether they are Grab driver, delivery, or whether even in their working in their offices, basically what they just do is frantically trying to keep pace with the cost of living that keeps on going up, right? And even Prime Minister Wong has acknowledged, and that's why he keeps doling out voucher after rebate, okay, after cash back, and that's because they know that Singaporeans, that wages cannot keep up with the rise in cost of living. But this is not what Singapore is supposed to be. After 60 years of one-party rule, of this so-called nation building, we've come to a stage that after 60 years, we're just treading water, hentak kaki, correct? Surviving, where we should be, as I said, thriving. And I keep coming back to this point. It was 60 years of uninterrupted rule. There was never a change in government. So PAP had unbridled power, the freedom to craft any system that they wanted to, be it in education, be it in our economic structure, be it in labor policy. But year after year, election after election, now we find ourselves deteriorating. I come back to this point again. And I want to cite this article that quoted, that actually reported Minister of Manpower Tan See Leng actually saying or alluding to the fact Singapore cannot survive without foreigners. I keep asking the question, why? Why after all these years have we come to a stage where we cannot survive without foreigners? At the very least, we should be able to maintain that survival mode, correct? And then foreigners come in, the complement, icing on the cake to give us the extra added power that we need. But when you tell Singaporeans right now, after 6 decades of PAP rule, now that we cannot survive, that's a huge, huge question. Okay? And this is one thing that we're going to be prosecuting as we go forward into the 2 weeks ahead, into the rallies. And this is the one thing that we want to tell Singaporeans, that if you go with the PAP right now, it's just continuing in the survival mode. But we need to open up as a society, right, in order to allow Singaporeans to thrive. And I don't just mean thriving in terms of monetary terms. I mean every sense of the word. Culturally, in the arts and music sector, in sports. And the whole idea that we need a huge population to be able to thrive, that's nonsense. If you look at some of what's happening in other parts of the world, countries, economies with smaller populations, they are thriving. I just give you one example. Finland, a population that's smaller than ours, 5.5 million. We have 6 million. Year after year, Finnish people, they report that they're the happiest people on earth. And I'm not talking about happy being this deliriously happy, you go to the pub, you have a drink. No, not that kind of thing. Finnish people keep reporting they feel secure. They feel sound, where they've got the community, their families, all these people just being around them, knowing that society, they're taken care of. That is what makes them contented and happy. Whereas in Singapore, you have huge problems with our mental health issues. We will be repeating that. And some of you have reported, your agencies have reported, correct? That we're in a crisis mode right now. That our stress levels have become epidemic in proportion. And this is where we come back to this point again. We need to thrive, not just survive. And in this stage of the elections, we have proposed specific policies on how we can at least begin to start that whole process of allowing Singaporeans to now begin to enjoy the quality of life that makes more sense to them and enjoy and then be able to have the opportunity then to thrive. And for that, I'm going to call upon my party mates here, Damanuria Abbas and Alfred Tan, and they will in turn tell you a little bit about more of the specifics and our policies and how we can begin to try to achieve what we want to do in Singapore, at least in these elections. All right?
I think cost of living is big in this election. All of us are feeling the pain from the high cost of living. So we are going to call for the reduction of the GST to 7% or even more to 5%. And then all the essential everyday goods, exclude them from the GST. I'm sure this can be done. If that is done, means you have more money in your pocket. Then you can spend your money, and then you will be less stressful, and you can focus on your living. Next is the other item that is big is the high HDB cost. So SDP, we have our non-market, non-open market scheme for BTO flats, which essentially cut out the land cost, and that will reduce the price of the BTO flats. And with such reduction, therefore, the young people who own these flats will not sink into a debt trap. So that is important. And finally, it's about medical expenses. So lowering medical expenses is going to be very important. For us, we are going to call for this to be done through our medical policies so that we can focus on having a healthy living without being constantly thinking about high hospital bills. So those are the three things that we are going to focus upon in our campaign to lower the cost of living.
The SDP MPs, if elected in the parliament, will demand from the government that government policies, laws that are passed in Singapore protect jobs for Singaporeans. And they should empower Singaporeans. Protecting jobs for Singaporeans should be paramount to our livelihood, to a life in Singapore. We need to prioritize Singaporeans. We need to reduce the influx of unnecessary foreign PMETs. We need to assure Singaporeans of job security. We need to give Singaporeans wider job opportunities. With a dwindling local population, with job vacancies still unfilled, it is a big wonder why there are many cases of underemployment cases still in Singapore. It shouldn't happen. What are we doing about it? What policies can we do? Can the government change to encourage job security to Singaporeans? We need to empower Singaporeans. We need to make sure life is meaningful to them. We need to make sure that whatever they make, whatever they earn, is a living wage. The SDP MPs will strive to introduce a minimum wage act if we get elected to parliament. We need to earn wage that is reflective of living life in Singapore. The cost of living is high. We should not stop relying on foreign inputs, foreign cheaper labors, just to suppress wages that is required to live life in Singapore. We believe putting in a minimum wage act will allow Singaporeans to not just survive, but to thrive further. And to help further thrive, let Singaporeans thrive, we need more support for mental health wellness. with an overpopulated little island of Singapore, with high cost of living, mental health issues, mental health support is required. We can do a lot more to this to improve the quality of life for Singaporeans. And that's what SDP MPs will do when we're elected into parliament.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, Daman. Just want to just reiterate this point about wanting Singaporeans to thrive. And as you're saying, there are very many case examples out there of people, of societies, economies, being able to help the people just feel that ability to have enjoy the quality of life. I think after 60 years, Singaporeans are entitled to ask, have we arrived where we can then begin to enjoy the fruits of our labor? And our quality of life cannot constantly be at the point where I'm looking for, I depend on vouchers just to go and do the shopping. At this stage of the game, we should be well beyond that level and just be able to say, hey, you know, we can slow down, begin to show compassion to those who are still struggling, and be able to take society forward. I've heard nothing. We've heard nothing of the sort from the PAP, from Mr. Lawrence Wong. And my worry is that when you look at the slate of PAP MPs, the new faces right now, majority of them have come from the ranks of civil service, right? And from military service. How does it add? How does it bring value to what is needed in the next parliament, where we can have people contributing ideas, innovative ideas on how we can take Singapore forward, rather than just more of the same, this group thing, right? And if you're a civil servant, you're in from the army, you come up with the ranks, you know who your bosses, former bosses are. You'd be very, very ill-placed to try to say, think out of the box. And that's where we're worried. And that injection of new ideas, that injection of fresh looking at the problem from different angles will help in Singapore moving forward and starting the process of allowing Singaporeans to thrive.